Good morning. Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Ian Boyd, got Justin Wells. Thank you for watching. We get to talk Texas Longhorns football practice, so make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and of course, if you've not done so yet, buy our guy Paul Wadlington's Thinking Texas Football. Every position, every player, every opponent, every SEC team, everybody that Texas is competing with for their national title dreams. They are in this book. You're also going to get a look at the class of 2025 from our guy Eric Naline, who was out there with me and Evan Veith yesterday at practice. Lots to go over, but I think the biggest one, Ian, and something you kind of wrote about, trying to figure out where everything's going to fit is in the secondary. And we got some hype from the coaches about a certain freshman on what would it be, Tuesday. And we didn't think we knew that he was having a good spring, summer, but man, we weren't exactly sure that Grayson Littleton was going to be popping out there at the first string with the Stars.
Yeah, how about that? I have so many theories of what's going on there. I don't know if we should just dive right in or if I should hem and haw for a second while everybody joins us on x.com or YouTube, as you prefer, everybody. But part of me is like, they held Derek Williams out a little bit, right?
Yes, he was kind of limited. Cade Phillips as well. Jonah Williams. I didn't get to watch a ton of offense. That was mostly Evan, but I bet they were cautious with Baxter. It's day one. They're not really banging that much, so they didn't need to put on green jerseys, but they were cautious in how they use guys.
So if you're like, hey, we're going to hold Derek Williams out initially, if you think he's one of the eventual starting five by the end of fall camp, then that opens up a spot. So then it could just be who's the sixth best defensive back, and that guy will start at his, or really the next best safety or nickel. Put that guy in for the loud and the praise from the media and all the speculation, or just grab a guy that's worked really hard and you'd like to reward in the offseason. So it could be that Littleton was a guy that they're like, he may or may not actually figure in at nickel this year as like a prominent contributor, but we want to reward him. Or it could be this guy is absolutely in the mix, and this first practice is going to reflect that. I don't know that either is more likely than the other, so it's kind of a wait and see for me.
He's listed at 6'0", 180, and we know that this position, I guess when you're making the NCAA sliders, like it's starting to move a little bit closer to coverage than it was back when it was closer to run fits and extra linebacker. But that doesn't mean there's not responsibilities in that run game. Or just, banging in the middle. But he does seem, Justin, for a prospect that we kind of got to know late, had to get to know very quickly. Like, I really trust a Clemson eval on a defensive back and a Michigan contention for this commitment. And even though we didn't learn a lot about him over the course of the last kind of month or so that he was being recruited by Texas, we learned a lot in the spring to know that he's probably up for something. He may not be up for starting quite yet, especially against Ohio State, but he's going to be up for something this year.
He made an impression. Listen, when Sark sells these kids on enrolling early, Grayson Littleton is why. Because you get on campus early, you do the things right you need to. You put yourself in a position to play early, and Grayson's doing that. He's putting himself in a position to play early. I'm with Ian. I mean, he had a couple theories, but I think he's being almost rewarded more so than anything else. But my goodness, man, he's in that secondary. It's loaded. Okay, there is talent everywhere. The fact that he's jumped some people to play where he was or to make that mark where he's at now. That's the most impressive part to me. We know how good he is. We knew, he had some potential and everything. It's the depth chart. It's the guys he's ahead of. that to me is what's a little more significant here than I think with others. Could it be, Ian, that he's getting rewarded? Could it be that, they're bringing Derek Williams along a little bit slowly? Jelani was at the starting spot at safety where Derek would presumably be. A lot of questions, but man, Grayson Littleton is the poster child for, hey, if you show up and you show early, you can show out and you can play early. And I think that's the essence of being an early enrollee, and Grayson Littleton's doing that right now.
I tried to it was interesting. I know there's probably some reports. It's like, well, Kobe Black wasn't running with the twos. That was just for one drill. I tried to, actually, let me bring that up now. Try to make a depth chart out of, what I saw. I tried to get it from basically everything I saw throughout the course of yesterday, not just in one portion of drills. This was the kind of the pecking order as it went. This is the back seven. Yeah, I can count. This is the back seven. Anything stand out on this part of the depth chart, at least from the 45 minutes we got to see?
Landwehr is here to stay.
There's two things for me. Phil Sami over Jordan Johnson-Rebel surprises me. That may be a good sign. I felt like in spring, and at least until very recently, Jordan Johnson-Rebel was like the next guy up at three different positions. And here he's third string at one behind Michael Taff. So that's a little surprising. And then Trey Moore and Anthony Hill at the same position. What is the point of that?
Well, you're the guy who's big on 250 pounders being exploitable in space. Do you want a 250 pounder and a 240 pounder lining up right by each other? Especially if it takes Leonga Lafau off the field?
I don't think Trey Moore is a Mike backer. That's just my opinion, though.
I think in this scheme, it doesn't necessarily matter as much. In quarters, it would matter a lot more because they have more ground to cover laterally. In this scheme, they each get a safety outside of them, so it's not quite as bad. And also, it creates if you have Hill, Moore, Burke, and Simmons on the field, you have 4+ pass rushers at all times. And every single position that you would be likely to blitz from is almost potentially as good a blitzer at that position as your opponent will face all year. And that's overwhelming.
Yeah, the picture can become very blurry for a quarterback looking at that. But one thing that this picture doesn't note, Trey Moore got some Sam reps as well. That's he's going to do both. They're not going to, and I think PK talked about that the other day, Justin. They're not going to take Trey Moore away from rushing the passer, possibly from the edge spot.
I agree with PK. I don't think they're going to take Trey Moore away from that as much. He's not a natural Mike. We know that. We know that. At the next level in the NFL, I have no idea what he's going to do. This might be a little bit of training before that big moment, but I'm with PK. Trey Moore is going to be hard to get off the field, I think, in some instances. But at the same time, you've got to be versatile because there's so much depth. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about with safety. There is ridiculous amount of depth at linebacker and at edge. And I think this is PK's part of camp where he's figuring out which pieces fit the best. And don't forget, we've got a Dwayne Akina back there now. If we thought the secondary was mixing and matching, wait till he gets his hands on all that. That's a guy that's known for moving people around to find the best fits. And so I agree with PK on Trey Moore. I'll give you that.
So this is an interesting comment. I think a lot of people are scared from Malcolm Roach playing Mike versus Maryland and getting jet sweep to death. Whoa, where do we begin? One, that was a lesser defensive staff, 2017 aside. Two, Trey Moore, he's listed at 250. Malcolm Roach was probably playing that at 270.
Yep.
This is a very different defense. That was a year where they're like, we're doing this tight front stuff again. They may do tight front every so often, but they're not going to major in it to where that responsibility is going to be put on Trey Moore, Anthony Hill, like it was on Malcolm Roach, and getting jet sweep to death. The other thing, as the Steelers fan below me knows, that was Matt Canada's calling card. Like the fact that speaks to like that first point of being a lesser defensive staff. Like everybody knew Matt Canada was going to run motion and be all over the field. That's what got him fired by Ed Ogeron. But apparently everybody but Todd Orlando knew that.
The tight front also had open edges, or at least to one side of the field. So the issue in that game wasn't as much like that they were too slow at inside linebacker. It was that those sweeps hit open edges. It could have been Malik Jefferson at that position, and he could have come back for his senior year, and they still would have had trouble with those because the way they were defending him.
Not a fun game. Sugar Daddy, I don't know if we ever want to do breakdowns of that unless you want to get – yeah, I don't think that'll help views on this channel.
Give me good for a $50 super chat or something. I'll do a article on it next offseason or something.
Oh, man. I think Nickelback requires a player that is sudden, quick in movement, and quick in reactions to cover slot wide receivers. I think it requires physicality, though. Yes, and I think, Justin, as I unhide you, so many people are afraid of, nickels being beat up like they were and having to do too much like they were under the Todd Orlando defense.
Yeah.
But like what Ian just said, the edges aren't left undefended. There are guys like Colin Simmons and Ethan Burke, and last year was Barron Sorrell out there to help make that job a little bit easier instead of having to fit in from 12 yards away.
It's a different position under PK, and it is a very a lot of responsibilities, and some guys shy away from that a little bit. There's a lot of responsibility there. Look, I was worried as anybody with Jalen Gilbo starting there last year. I thought that I don't like this. I don't like how this is going to turn out. It turned out just fine. Now he's at corner for good. He's not coming back to nickel. David, no matter how much you remind me, he's not coming back to nickelback. It's just a different scheme. It's a different need. But the thing that I think these guys take away from playing that nickel spot, if you can play there, you can play a lot of places. Like It gives you so much versatility. It gives you so many opportunities to get back on the field. You know where we're going to see Grayson Littleton a lot this year? Special teams. He's gonna qualify to take on some of that kamikaze type stuff, and so it's a different position under a different regime, and now it's more of a pass happy college football landscape, and so you're gonna see guys that are more. They understand it. Look, yeah, it's also playing defensive back, but it's also knowing your gap for linebacker. Like you got to have run fits in that spot. But I'll tell you what, if you can play star, you can play safety. You can play a lot of other positions. I just think it makes you more versatile. And I think in this staff's eyes, they want as many guys as they can play in different spots so they can find the right combination.
It's interesting. They've used it now for a few years to get hardworking, willing, smart, versatile players on the field early before moving them somewhere else.
I remember they did that with Brandon Jones, and he absolutely hated it, but it was the best thing that happened to him too.
A couple of different comments. I would not place much importance on a first practice, but I think Filsaime could be the best combination of speed, athleticism, and size on the roster. I think everybody in Moncrief agrees with you, but there's a part of football that's here down, and there's a part of football that's here up. And he's made a lot of progress in that second one, but that's where he needs to continue to make progress.
Michael Taft is the beacon. The beacon that tells you that here up at safety is the most important thing, so long as you meet a certain baseline for athleticism.
Why would Kobe Black not be considered for nickel too big? So I will the way
They
I'm gonna
recruit those long corners to play corner.
there's another aspect of this, and I've been kind of doing some scheme studying, and a lot of the podcasts that I've been listening to have been going over scheme. But when you think of a college football field, the hashes are pretty wide. And if you run anything from the hash into the boundary, it's not often. You'd like to have space to work with, but you still have guys who run into the hash, from the hash into the boundary. Well, that corner becomes a guy that you need to set the edge. And that's something that they really want from their corners. They like those 6'2", think of Ryan Watts. Like, that was what made Ryan Watts a really effective corner at Texas, is that it was really hard to run to it's always hard to run to the short side, but it's really hard to run to the short side when you have 6'3", 210 playing defense there. And then you've also got over the top of him, guys like who would it have been in that scenario? Probably like Taff and Williams at the end of that year. So it's different. But there's also just that run fit part of it. It's nice to have a guy there at corner who can do that, because it's a portion of the college game that's very interesting. And then let's keep going. I'm trying to go through some different comments. Surprised Derek Williams not going to be first string. Kind of like Williams David said, it's practice one, and this is practice one probably for him, where he's coming back from a big-time leg injury. I wouldn't be concerned, and I think him being second string kind of makes sense. Justin, it's crazy to look at that depth chart and wonder where Jonah Williams fits in. They're taking him on slowly. It looks like they're letting his lingering just bumps and bruises from baseball season get healed up, but he's going to factor in somewhere, and he seems like a specialty package player.
He's the guy that if he's in spring football, maybe he's the one we're talking about, not Grayson Littleton, but he played baseball. So he kind of had a little bit of a detour. And I think the hamstring is an extension of a little bit of baseball that he's dealing with right now. But understand, talk to a couple guys that did stuff this summer. Like, they love Jonah. Like, Jonah was a guy that didn't shy away from trying to absorb everything. Some guys like to take baby steps. Some guys like to kind of inch along. Jonah jumped in, ready. And I think that's part of the attitude that Sark really likes. I have this dream that he plays middle linebacker and dime, and I just think that it would be absolutely fantastic. But we're gonna that's the ridiculous amount of depth on this team. Like we mentioned, I don't know how many guys, 15 guys. Jonah Williams wasn't mentioned yet. That tells you what a problem to have. Like, what an incredible problem for Sark and those guys to have. Jonah's going to be tough to keep off the field. I just don't know where his best fit's going to be just yet.
I don't think they have to worry about it this year. They can do hey, go play football this year, and then
kind of like DJ's freshman year,
and worry about it later. Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor, that is Academy.
All right, who's ready?
I'm open.
I actually saw that on TV the other day, and I had my Magellan stuff out at Denny's yesterday. We'll find my other one today and be wearing that. Someone asked about the defensive line. We'll get to that right now. This one was interesting because we had heard and coaches had mentioned that, maybe this is a 3-deep position. And it kind of looks like one. And I know I wrote or Josiah Sharma. Now that I think of it, it's probably Murad Watson. But you can kind of tell, Ian, based off looking at this, if I'm 95% sure I had these pairings right, what they want from one guy and what they want from another. And Hero Canoe drew a lot of praise from Steve Sarkisian yesterday.
I love to be vindicated. And I mentioned Hero Canoe as a potential starter for the fit when I was going over defensive tackle pairings in the spring and faced scorn and ridicule from many. Yet, here we are. Hero Canoe, first out. I don't know how long that'll hold up. Obviously, they've got like the athletic guys on the one side. Canoe, January Hills are more your like quicker twitch, faster guys. And then Shaw and Brevard are your big, hold your ground guys. But Murad Watson does not fit in that paradigm. He's
maybe flip. I don't know about Hills. Maybe you flip Hills and Watson. Sharma definitely does fit that paradigm, but that was, like I said, I'm breaking in new glasses, and it was either 98 or 90. So I'm guessing it was 98. But the other thing is, if you watch Watson's film, even at 315 pounds, he can play every technique.
Yeah, he's quick, but he's also powerful. He can knock people backwards a little bit. And he can hold the point as well. He can like stunt and move around some. That'll be interesting. This one is probably one of the hardest because as you noted in your article, usually when they get transfers in, they put them lower on the depth chart early and kind of make them earn their way up and like prove it before they get to be first string in the media reports and all that. So this is one that's going to be probably a lot more fluid as fall camp goes on as it goes from who worked hard in the offseason and who got here first to who stood up to double teams in actual padded practices. And then that might be a lot different than this. But yeah, they've got the big guys paired with the fast guys, and you got your initial pecking order. Great to see Shaw up there, right? Shaw, I thought the two most talented guys they brought in were Watson and Shaw. But Shaw was like poorly conditioned, knee stuff. And so it's like, I don't know if we're ever going to see much out of him or not. Every indication has been that they may actually get a big ROI on him.
Shaw did not have a knee brace on, and again, day one, so maybe he has it back on whenever they have.
That's still promising, though.
And he looked, a lot of the concerns about him, not just at, North Carolina, but just kind of throughout his career, is like, oh, is he too big? And when you're asking your defensive tackles to be 340 pounds, what's the difference between one meal going extra? And anyway, he didn't look like he was in bad shape. And Justin, if they can hit on Travis Shaw and Cole Brevard, that may be the best two. And even another good thing that Kenny Baker talked about was that with Shaw and Brevard, it's like, look, I know you really like playing nose tackle, but we're going to have you do more than play nose tackle because we're going to need you to do more. And if they can get that from Shaw and Brevard, as far as playing up and down the line, then it's another successful transfer portal class.
I think it already is another successful transfer portal class just from the depth, the numbers alone. I actually saw some clips of Josiah Sharma. That guy looked fantastic. Like number 90 looked really, really good. I guess it was a flash of like an old Byron Murphy or something, but my goodness, he looked really, really good. If you get 25 reps out of Shaw, out of Brevard every game, if you get up to 30 reps, like you're getting your money's worth there. You're getting more bang for your buck. And that allows a guy like Sharma and a Myron Charles and those guys to be developed and brought along a little bit more technically, which is what they need because those guys are so young and athletic and strong. They need to be behind some of these veterans. Watson's the one I'm watching. I think he winds up being a starter. I think this is obviously the first practice, and we'll see how it goes. But Watson was the one that, to me, had the most upside coming into this group. And so how they pair those two is going to be interesting because I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those.
Looking at edge, I think the one above is Jack. The one below is Buck. And then punt return we can kind of get into. The only thing is, Justice Terry and Lance Jackson. Terry was working some with the defensive tackles, working some with the jacks, a little bit of bouncing around between drills and reps. Makes a lot of sense, especially if, we're still surprised that 268 is 268. But Justin, Lance Jackson getting the opportunity at Buck just to kind of start out gives him, I think, with a depth chart looking like this, and who knows where Brad Spence kind of fits into this equation as well. Lance Jackson getting the opportunity at Buck, I feel like is a good thing, especially when you're going to be learning from a guy named Colin Simmons.
Yeah, I kind of thought he was going to be more of a jack, to be honest with you. Like I was a little surprised, but then again, they slimmed him down a little bit. Most of these guys, they show up, they beef him up. Lance had to lose some good weight, but he got toned. You remember he came in at like 280, 285. So they had to get him down a little bit. If he's playing jack at 260, 265, goodness gracious. Like that's a guy that's a 5-star. That's the kind of the guy we envisioned out of Pleasant Grove. That's the upside we kept talking about. And again, when you enroll early, you give yourself a prime opportunity to get on the field quickly. You could look at Lance's physique and you could be able to tell that, okay, this guy is probably going to make some sort of an impact early. How much remains to be seen, because I see the guy in front of him, Zena Umeozulu. Like, that's the key there. It's not so much Lance as it is Zena. These guys are going to push each other. You're going to see competition at its best. It's kind of reminding me of those mid-2000 USC teams where Pete Carroll had so much depth at so many positions. He did not care. He would just stack guys in different spots and just let the cream rise to the top. That's what's going to push Zena, I think, is Lance being on his tails. And both those guys are chasing Colin Simmons, who they probably aren't going to catch. But so there's a goal there. There's almost like a chain of command. Lance getting there early, playing early, not surprised. He's going to get reps early. He's too big, too strong, too fast to keep off the field. And I think eventually, I think he does wind up at Buck. But if he can play jack right now at his size, more power to him.
Ian, anything on the screen that jumps out to you?
Not really. I mean, Lance Jackson at Buck is weird to us, but it's probably about just getting him reps right now.
Right. And spreading opportunity. Positions are not that different, especially in drills like they're doing right now. It'd be so funny if Terry ended up on the edge. It's like you can imagine him being extremely good at it and that being sort of exciting. But honestly, that's not what they went in there and dropped a bag for, I don't think. Yeah, but it's not like
yes and no.
It's not like if you paid high dollar for a shutdown corner and it becomes, a top 10 safety, that's a different price structure. If you have a guy who can get after the quarterback, probably, at least as far as colleges go, I wouldn't be surprised if a high-end D tackle and a high-end edge rusher are not too far away.
They should be, though, honestly. And they already had Lance Jackson.
Yeah.
And Zena Umeozulu. So they already had like freakishly big, powerful dudes to play out there. And Vosick has a couple of years left. So that's going to be very interesting. I get just a little bit of Jere Bledsoe trauma with this.
Really?
Or it's like Jere Bledsoe, it would be like, this guy is the most freakish athlete on the freaking team. And then they get to padded practices, and it's like, well, but he doesn't have a position.
You remember Joe was talking about earlier about the thing with the head and the sections and like cutting you in 3 pieces, like human centipede style?
Sure.
Tell him, Joe. Explain it to him.
I know what that is.
Jere Bledsoe.
Jere Bledsoe, if I remember
missing here.
I think if you can look at where he ended up transferring to, he ended up going to Mississippi State, and it's not because he
didn't they all
lacked. Well, yeah, the Marlin duo. It's not because he lacked athleticism, and it's not like, and I'm not trying to dog on the kid, but football comes at a different pace for everybody. And even at defensive tackle, like there were some things schematically that Bledsoe was struggling with, to where that athleticism didn't matter. And
I did not expect a Jere Bledsoe mention when looking at those numbers, those names. I would that blew me away, Ian.
I think Justice Terry is very unique in that he's such a different athlete, and yet Justin, as you talked about before, like he's from Manchester, Georgia. Like he is a different level of athlete, still just 6 months removed from being and living in Manchester, Georgia, and also not playing a ton last year. What is he? He's got a physical.
That bothers me too, though. That's still, I still got that in the back of my mind too, that he just didn't even play his senior year, and it's hard to know why.
It would bother you if he was a starter, Ian. If he came out with the first team reps,
it bothers me because
we would all be looking around like, what the hell is going on? The fact that he's on third, that's a positive. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Why didn't he play
with Bags this time? You got to get these guys on the field a little bit earlier. Like Justice Terry, let's see some return on that investment.
Why didn't he play as a senior?
He did play as a senior. He was hurt half the year.
You know who else can help you if you're hurt?
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
There's someone parked their car and is blocking my trash from getting picked up. But, well, you know what? We'll have to deal with that later. Speaking of blocking, and we'll go to a couple super chats. Burt Reynolds, Ian, as observers, what do we need to be looking for during fall camp to assess the online progress? We need to see this year to get over the hump. It's all about guards, I feel like. What do you think?
Yeah, whether Neto can hold down that left guard spot is definitely going to be a solid indicator. And then I think probably we want to hear about goal line drills and whether or not they're punching the ball in. Because I honestly, the way Sark schemes his offense, I don't know that he even needs that good of an O-line to run over teams in between the 20s, because he creates so much run pass conflict and he just like has defenders' heads spinning so often. But when you get down closer, then you can't do that anymore. And it just becomes, can you move people or not? So how left guard shakes out, and then whether or not we hear good things about goal line drills. Those are the two things that I think will be the good indicators.
Justin, Ian's kind of treatise on depth is if a coach is just naming dudes, and you don't have, we have this guy here, this guy here, this guy here. Well, that means you really don't have a guy there. It kind of feels like at guard, that's maybe one of the areas where Kyle Flood was kind of naming dudes the other day, and that's a place where they definitely need someone to come in and pop up as soon as they can.
Yeah, we're not at Charlie Strong's stage yet where he's just naming the roster, going through the depth chart, which I'm glad. We don't need that. But the O-line it's I think one of the most least discussed things, to be honest with you. And honestly, if you talk to people inside the program, like they're not as worried, especially with the guard positions. I think they're a little more hesitant with tackle because I know they have 3, maybe 4 guys there at the most. I think guards, they're good. They're set. They understand. Now they're going to have to find some continuity. But tackle's the one where I'm a little hesitant because there is only a handful of guys there that can play that spot. And so, Josh, hey, there's my man. I'm sorry if we've already discussed. Are we thinking Kojo pushes Baker to the end of camp? Look, if they're pushing each other, that's a good sign. But you want Brandon Baker to stand up and take that job and take that role and really take on that responsibility, kind of like Cam Williams did last year. For better or worse, you need that. And so, yeah, tackles where I'm a little bit more a little more hesitant, and I'm bullish on the guards. Like I think they've got some good guys there. I think as long as the tackles play well, Cole Hudson holds down the center, I think they're in good shape.
You almost want Baker to blow him away, though, don't you? Because
You do. You would prefer that. You would prefer that, but that hasn't happened up till this point.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get a something from our guy Evan up on the screen, but until then can go to some of these different questions. Odd that Baxter's good to go by the OU game. I feel like that's a little later than they would prefer.
He might be good to go week 1.
Yeah, we'll see how that ends up working, but the OU game would be pretty late, I think.
It would be like 18 months after the injury.
Yeah,
that can't be right.
That'd be a long time.
No, I think Brett's just thinking ahead. Brett woke up this morning wanting to beat OU. Okay, so he's just thinking ahead. That's all he's doing.
This one from Kenny Joe. Any concerns about Jordan Washington's weight? I think he's 6'5", 260 right now. I know that anytime anybody sees a tight end who gets bigger and bigger, they think Darnell Washington. There's only one Darnell Washington.
Yeah, I don't.
That's why Hez Kent is probably going to be a tackle, even if they keep telling him he can wear a single-digit number. I'm not concerned at all about this. I feel like Jeff Banks is very comfortable with having multiple body types. They feel like Jordan Washington can threaten as a receiver. And if you're 260 and, maybe even have a frame for that even further, you can block. You may not be able to move like Darnell Washington. Nobody can. But you'll still be able to do a lot of different things that maybe Texas couldn't do in its blocking tight end packages last year. So I'm fine with this one. Now, if it gets like 280, you're like, maybe this guy is just why isn't this guy rushing the passer? But I'm good with everything on this one. Jackson Miles, are there sub positions on the O line, like in the secondary, boundary corners, field corners? There are a handful of college teams, and they're usually option teams that do strong side, weak side with their O line, which it's very rare. My high school did it actually. So no, normally you have your left, your right, your center. But every now and then you'll get a team that wants to do the strong side, weak side.
Maybe the jumbo tackle package.
Yeah.
That's like a sub a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. But
Vanderbilt does that. Vanderbilt put that on their depth chart last year at SEC Media Days, and everybody was looking at it like strong guard, weak guard. What does that mean?
Yeah. It's very rare, but it is a thing. It does happen.
High school ball.
Yeah.
That's a most college offensive lines are worried about pass protection. So left tackle protects the quarterback's blind side. Sometimes when teams have a left-handed starter at quarterback, they'll flip it. Like, did Texas do that a little bit with Chris Sims? I think they put like their bigger pass protector at right tackle with Chris Sims. I think.
I'm actually going to look.
I think it was Antoine Kirkus.
It was like Leonard Davis, I thought, or is that right? Is that two?
I don't know if they moved those guys around for Chris or not.
Maybe they should have. Maybe that's why he had.
Well, I'm curious. Like hypothetically, if Arch is left-handed, does Trevor Gooseby go to right tackle?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
And that's something Auburn's going to deal with this year with Deuce Knight. Does their best guy
Jackson Arnold? No.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if the defense is already letting him score, that's not going to end well. If the head coach is telling your defense, "Hey, let my guy score so he can feel good about himself," it's going to be Deuce Knight time.
We'll talk about that later because I heard I heard a very interesting opposing perspective on that.
Opposing, I can give you a bunch of opposing on that.
No. Like it's a good devil's advocate, but we need to keep going.
Here we go. If you don't show the Hugh Freeze gif of in the hospital bed, we're not doing this.
I'm not doing that. What I'm trying to do is see if I can figure out who they had play tackle for Tua but it's not proving easy to find. I don't know why.
Leatherwood.
Yeah, and he was a right tackle, I think.
He was Alex Leatherwood.
So that may be part of it. But let's talk about Texas. Gooseby, Umeozulu, Hudson, Campbell, Baker. No surprise there. What about maybe some of these second-string guys? And another thing that we have to mention is that when you're trying to put together an offensive line, you're trying these guys out at these spots, but the point is to have a top 6 to 8 that you trust, not to be like, this is the second string left guard. Right. This is the second string right tackle. But any part of this really stand out? Nick Brooks, I'm curious what Evan meant by no Nick Brooks. I should have asked him. But Connor Robertson at center, Stroh at right guard, Kojo right tackle. Chapman left tackle is kind of the one that a little bit surprises me.
I'm not that surprised, but that was based off of me not believing Nick Brooks was going to be ready to play tackle this year. Now, we've heard in the spring that that's not the case. He's very, very up to the challenge. But this honestly, this is what I would think before I heard the Brooks stuff in the spring. I would have thought Chapman. I mean, Chapman's already played a little bit. Chapman's got a tremendous upside. This is a good young player. No Nick Brooks, that's something I do want to ask Evan about. But, yeah, that's everything else.
With the ones and twos.
Everything else looks like, in theory, I would have him probably at right tackle behind Andre Kojo or at left tackle behind Chapman, where I think he's probably still going to end up. Does he wind up being a backup? I don't think it matters. I don't think he's going to see legitimate snaps, or he shouldn't see legitimate snaps this year. If he does, something may have gone wrong.
I think for Brooks, I think this is just ones and twos. I bet when they went with the threes. But I don't know if that meant he wasn't out there at all. I doubt that. I feel like we would have seen that.
Do we think the problem that the little incident Nick got into has anything to do with this?
Yes. I think also there's the normal pecking order, and you got to play a couple practices before they really start to shift it to reflect. Yeah. And then there's that.
Yeah.
Where he was airing out.
That makes the most sense.
And airing out laundry.
This is probably where they're going to handle that type of thing. I'm trying to look at the thing about Chapman for me is that he has been someone that they've put a receiver eligible number on in the past couple of years. They haven't done it super often ever since Andre Karic and Malik Agbo moved on, but they tried it, and they tried it with him, but they really haven't gone to it. And maybe that's because some of his fellow offensive linemen weren't getting punched, but I really feel like that if we see Jaden Chapman this year, it's going to be doing extra tackle stuff. But, Ian, the thing is, it's a little bit tougher to pull that off in the SEC than in the Big 12.
To pull what off?
The 6-0 line stuff.
Why? That's what they did to survive against Alabama and Austin.
They did with Karic that year?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I just feel like when you're running against, usually in the Big 12, if they have 300-pounders or 300-pounders, where in the SEC you can find 315, and you're inviting more of them onto the field by adding a extra offensive lineman to clutter things up.
It probably depends on how well the other team is equipped for that. It probably varies a lot. Michigan would do that a lot. Big Ten teams in general do that sometimes. I remember Minnesota I think they played like Ohio State and took them down to the wire in the season opener. Maybe it was 2020. And they came out with like all these 8 or 9 offensive lineman packages and just ran the ball.
9-0 line. Good.
And then Ohio State was like.
That sounds like some Harbaugh stuff.
Oh, and Harbaugh did it.
Harbaugh did it in the boat, man.
Harbaugh did it to Penn State the year they won the national championship. And Penn State had like 3 NFL pass rushing edges, kind of like this Texas team.
Abdul Carter and
and they had some other guys too. They had like 2 others I can't remember. I can't remember if they had Micah Parsons or not.
That's called eliminating the competition.
and Michigan couldn't block them. And so they just stopped throwing the ball.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And they put like 7 or 8 offensive linemen out every play. It just ran duo, and they were getting double teams on like 240-pound edges. And Penn State like didn't know what to do.
That was the Sharon Moore "I love you, man" game.
Yeah, that one exactly.
Because Harbaugh was in a Happy Valley hotel watching it.
Yeah, but if you're playing
Or
Georgia,
he was at Walmart getting some new khakis.
if you're playing Georgia and they have a package where they're like, "That's fine, time to play our 5 defensive tackle," then you're going to get racked.
Yeah,
So,
and similarly, that's what Texas A&M tried to do to Texas on the goal line. That's what Clemson tried to do to Texas on the goal line, and they forgot. There was one time they forgot to block Ethan Burke, which is a little bit of a surprise, and then the other time, Bill Norton made his way through the line of scrimmage. So that's why I think that if they did it, they would use Chapman, but I think they might be hesitant to use it just because of what you're facing in the SEC. Gonna go through running back real quick.
How are we talking about practice? We have not talked about quarterback.
Well, let's talk about quarterback.
Let's get in this algorithm.
Let me get to it. Let me see what I can find. Yeah, they
All
usually
I want to
start.
talk about is quarterback.
They usually start with throwing on air, and usually that's all we see. Arch Manning, Trey Owens. I think I saw KJ Lacey get to 3 with Matthew Caldwell going after them. Somebody asked about, what would happen to this team and where would they go if Arch Manning wasn't available. It just kind of depends on the length of time. If you think it's a spot, then maybe you go with Caldwell. But maybe if you think it's a long-term thing, you could say, okay, Trey Owens, let's get you some development and get you opportunities because you're going to be here a lot longer than Caldwell. But that's a problem they don't want to take on, obviously. And I think Caldwell may, make that backup quarterback battle interesting. That's why he was brought in. But there's
Sark
a lot
even mentioned something about Caldwell yesterday.
Sark did?
Yeah, he mentioned about he's being coachable. He's like absorbing a lot. Which, we know how hard Sark is on quarterbacks. Like every other position on the field gets a juice box except for the quarterback position. Like he is hardcore on those guys. So if he's already throwing praise on Caldwell, who's only been there a minute, knowing how important Caldwell could potentially be, God forbid, if something happens to Arch, I thought I was a little surprised that he had singled him out.
Ian, what's your perspective on that?
I don't know.
Hope you don't have to deal with it.
Owens versus Caldwell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to want to say they already made it to fall camp. So if Caldwell wins the number 2 job and Owens gets mad, it just kind of shuts it down and starts looking around for places to transfer, you already got your number 2 quarterback.
Trey's not going to do that.
And I don't think so either.
And also they'll have
Trey is pot committed through the season at this point, at least till like the December window, right? So I think they already probably cleared the issues when they got past the spring portal window.
And don't forget, Dia Bell will be on this roster in January. And that, any backup quarterback talk you want to make, buddy, that's your backup quarterback next year.
On that.
I will double down on that one, Ian.
KJ Lacey, I think, is going to make that extremely difficult.
I hope him and Trey both do. That's what Sark hopes. Just to understand, there's a difference in one of those guys and the other 2 or 3 guys.
What about this one here? Wingo, Livingstone, Moore, frontline wide receivers there. Mosley playing outside. And again, they mix and match so much. This is just what they did in drills. It may not be what they do in the game. Anything I think Ryan Niblett is going to fit more into the gadget is almost a pejorative these days.
Yes.
The gadget as opposed to being in the slot. But this is as good of a wide receiver depth chart as you could ask for this season, right, Justin?
Yeah. I think McCutcheon will supplant Niblett at some point. Look, Niblett needs to focus on punt return, and I know they have DeAndre Moore back there as well. But like, I'm not the biggest fan of your number 1 or number 2 receiver doing special teams constantly every game, especially over the course of a 13, 14, 15 game season. Like, and Ryan Niblett might be the most explosive guy with the ball in his hands. I mean, honestly, like, is there a faster guy on offense? Like, that guy is absolute electricity. And so, and McCutcheon is more of your traditional style guy. Like, we heard a lot about McCutcheon in the springtime and about being just a polished kid. Like, he showed up, he maybe wasn't as talented as Lockett, French, and Terry. He was more prepared. He showed up, this is a guy that learned how to play receiver from the school of Todd Dodge. So he knows what he's doing. I think McCutcheon jumps up and gets some of those early reps. I'm with you. Niblett needs to be that gadget guy, gadget back, where they still can do some crazy stuff with him at running back. He can still be, popular on special teams. Hey, if he carves out a role or niche or whatever in this role, that's great. But I want to see Dalen McCutcheon get those reps. I want to see potentially Lockett and French kind of jump up and get more of those reps, because this group is going to be developed. You know how many of these guys they're going to lose at the end of the season? 1. They get everybody back.
Just DeAndre Moore?
Yeah, they get everybody back. This is the development year. You want to get these younger guys some early reps, because we know the bench gets shortened once SEC play starts. We know how Sark works. That first month, we need to see the 2s and the 3s getting as much run as possible.
You know what stands out to me on this? The same how they had like Hill and Moore at the same position at Mike linebacker. And it was like, well, wait a minute. How are we going to get them both on the field if they both play the same position? Wingo and Mosley at what I assume is like the Z position here. That's interesting.
But again, this is just drills too. Like, when it
Yeah,
comes
I know. They can more easily move Mosley to Livingston's spot even than Moore to like LaFal's, I think. But
those are 2 different receivers, Ian. Mosley's more of your possession style guy. Livingstone is going to be able to take the cover off the top.
Yeah.
Mosley is not running like Livingstone. Livingstone does not have the body or the frame or the muscle or the experience of a Mosley. They almost complement each other pretty well, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. You kind of wonder if Livingston ends up with a lot of reps just to come in and run it deep.
And take the safety with you. Yep.
And then back to the bench and then come back out and run another bomb. We'll see.
He's going to run dry bombs. And then Arch is going to go, all right, Parker, get the Livingstone Brother IG account ready. We're about to do this. And boom.
Call and check on him and say goodnight to him.
Yeah, say, look, I'm calling you to let you know I'm about to throw you this ball. You know why? I throw bombs. If we could get Arch a soundbite of him saying that, and I'm going to put that on Joe, because that's his responsibility of these media availabilities. When Arch comes out there, at some point this year, you have got to get a soundbite of him saying, yeah, Arch those bombs. If you can get him to say that in the third person, we win 2025.
Anything on running back? I feel like this one.
Can we note David says Texas has great talent, but they need more burners at wide receiver and running back. I don't think they need more burners at receiver, because Livingston, Moore, and Wingo.
He's been used to Xavier Worthy and Matthew Golden. Look, Texas is not sending the fastest 40 guy to the NFL draft combine next April. It's not, or next March. It's not happening. There's burners there. There's just not Worthy, Matthew Golden, Silas Bolden level burners. There's still speed. There is speed out there. Parker Livingstone ran what, a 10.6? Like, listen, there is speed out there. It's just fans have gotten used to Xavier Worthy, Matthew Golden, getting the fastest 40 times at the combine. Texas isn't going to have that from their receivers this coming this year.
They don't need it.
No, they don't need it.
Always going to get there by air. They don't need the person to carry the ball down the field this year. It's going to travel by air.
I'm excited for that one. Anything here on running back? Baxter, Wisner, 1A, 1B makes a lot of sense. Clark.
I think Christian Clark is going to surprise some people.
I just think the fact that he's back is still
crazy
impressive.
Yes.
And whatever you get from him is found money.
Sark had a great comment about that. He's like, my wife tore her Achilles a few years ago. She still has issues with it. And Christian Clark's out here cutting and stopping.
I think that's really impressive. We'll be back at it today. Probably have Eric and Evan run a video. Get some opportunity to put Evan together on the show. But I did want to bring this up because this is something that you brought up on the message board yesterday, Justin.
Okay, yeah, I want Brent Williams, but go ahead and say this one.
Here, let's get to that.
Brent Williams here. Brent Williams, buddy. Man, this might be his first time on Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Welcome. Matthew Gold wasn't considered a speed guy until after the combine. Am I drinking in the morning? Like what is this? Matthew Golden was
Isaiah Bond was on the team, and that may have clouded things, but they didn't bring in Matthew Golden if he was slow.
Matthew Golden was running a 10.4 in high school.
I'm trying to find it. I can't.
Yeah, but he wasn't talked up as much.
It doesn't matter if he was talked. We watched him play. I watched him play for Houston. We watched him play at Klein Kane. Matthew Golden has always been a speed guy. The dude's 5'10 and a half. He's always been a speed guy, not just a speed guy, a quick twitch burner guy. After the combine, he was a speed guy. Jesus Christ, Matthew Golden. Why do you think Sark brought him in?
Got a couple more comments here. How are we talking about Travis Shaw as a space eater, not a penetrator? He was a top 10 recruit in the nation. He hadn't played like one.
Yeah, look at him. He's
350 pounds.
Just because you're a top 10 recruit doesn't mean you play like one.
He eats. You can tell from looking at him. He's eating something. Hopefully it's space.
And it's not going to be, he will be asked to do other things, but he hasn't been a penetrator in his career so far. That's just something we're going to have to keep tracking. Trying to find one more. There was a good one. Oh yeah, this one from Justin Wales. Y'all think Justice Terry will fit a similar mold as LT Overton? Does his skill set fit more as an undersized inside player? LT Overton 6'5", 283. Honestly, this is one of the biggest questions about Justice Terry. You think that there's an elite football player in there somewhere, but where exactly that football player plays, a little bit to be determined. We just don't know quite yet. And, you can still have some fun on third downs trying to figure it out.
Michigan has a guy like that too named Derek Moore. He's like 6'3", 280. And he plays the field edge spot. Yeah, that's Tyreek Sapp at Florida is kind of like that. That's a very valuable position type right now to have. The field edge, you can't get around him because he's driving your tight end or your tackle into the backfield. It's possible he could be that. That would be extremely valuable if he was. My only hesitation is they have like 3 other guys that could do that.
And that kind of fits into what you've talked about and how you used to put the tip of the spear on your defense at middle linebacker. Now you put him at that strong end position just because that's where the focal point of offense is. A couple more. Jose Rodriguez, who is the unquestioned leader on offense and defense? They wear number 16.
Yeah.
They both wear the same number.
It's pretty straightforward there. And then last but not least, how do the other quarterbacks look? I didn't get a good chance to look at offense. Evan did, but I'll make sure that we get some more intel on that. We'll talk about that later today. But all right, Justin.
Time for you to play devil's advocate, Joe. Explain why this is a good thing. So I can crush
Hugh Freeze acknowledges he asked defensive coordinator DJ Durkin to go easier on quarterback Jackson Arnold in the spring. Freeze says offensive coaches are working closely with Durkin regarding plans. The number one priority for practice is for our quarterback to leave the field confident. All right. Tell me why this is wrong.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm telling you to screw off. You're not holding my guys back. You're not going to make things, I'm not going to tell my guys to play lighter, to make it easier. Or maybe in this case, draw up certain schemes that maybe Jackson Arnold is better at than he against the, don't call any defensive fronts that he's not as good at. I think this sends an absolutely horrible message to your program. If this is the case, you damn sure don't say it publicly. That probably is where it's wrong, the most wrong. Don't say this publicly because you want to kill your quarterback's confidence. Tell the media you just told the DC to take it easy on your quarterback so he can keep his confidence. This is not how you run a football program. This is not how you find balance between getting development on your offense and your defensive side. I get Freeze's mindset. I don't even get Freeze's mindset here. Like, you paid a ton of money for two quarterbacks. Either they're going to be ready for the bullets or they need to be on scout team. This is the SEC. So I don't like it on the surface. I don't like it in the locker room, and I damn sure don't like it in the public. Why he made this public, I don't know. Fight me back, Joe.
I saw Justin Wells' mouth moving the whole time, but I kept hearing Brent Venables' voice. And you're right. You don't want to keep the training wheels on all the way up to when they go to Waco to play Baylor. But I forgot where I was listening. It may have been Cover 3 where it said, like, if you're a defensive coach, and granted, yes, there's competition. Yes, there has to be a winner and a loser. But if you, as a head coach, are not doing anything to at least give your quarterback the opportunity, some chance to build confidence. And I'm not saying give him there's the wide open guy, but there has to be opportunities, especially for a quarterback like Jackson Arnold, to build confidence. And then, you go out in your Oklahoma last year, and granted, you have a god-awful offensive coordinator, but, Brent Venables probably was like, I want the defense to win every practice. That was his goal as Brent Venables, a defensive coordinator. So he didn't care if Jackson Arnold developed or had.
That was not my stance. That was your stance. That was not my stance on winning practices. So go ahead.
Well, how do you leave a field confident if not by winning practice?
You don't have to win practice. You compartmentalize plays. You ran these plays really well. You ran these plays not very well. Like, if you want to make it easier for him,
I hit that golf shot really well, but I shot a 120.
Well, find 8 plays he's good at. Run those.
I found 8 shots I was good at, but then I still
run those then. So you're supposed to make it easier for him?
I believe
you know what's going to make it harder for him? Week 1.
I believe in making it easy.
Completely make it harder for him.
I believe in making it easy to rebuild the guy's confidence and to help him on ramp. I do think you have to test him before the season. And you better make sure, if you tell the media that you went easy on him, that he knows it and that it doesn't crush him.
That's part of my argument right there.
Yeah. I think they're going to be fine. I bet you. I'm with Paul. Me and Paul both think Auburn ends up being surprisingly good this year. They got Singleton.
Surprisingly is the operative word there.
I think some dudes at receiver.
They've got playmakers
at receiver.
Yeah, Cam Coleman. The Lambert Smith kid, they've got offensive weapons.
Is he still there?
Isn't he still there?
There's Singleton from Georgia Tech too.
They have Singleton and Coleman. That's all that really matters.
Yeah.
They have somebody else too.
Doing these Thursday lives has me excited to do this week in the SEC in just about a month. But before we get to that, we are going to be able to talk a lot more about practice, including today. So make sure you subscribe to this channel.
Plastic weights for Jackson.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, head to InsideTexas.com. And if you haven't done so yet, buy our guy Paul Wadlington's Stinking Texas Football 2025 Prospectus. A look at the roster, the schedule, the conference college football and the 2025 recruiting class. So should be a lot of fun. Ian, know the deep dive is coming out in just over an hour. We'll have another opportunity at practice today. We'll have clips from that practice, reaction from that practice. We'll get to talk to some players as well. So stay tuned here to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. There we go. Ian, Justin, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.